I want to thank you both for being here. General Selva, could you tell us what percentage of U.S. sorties are returning in the fight right now against ISIS without dropping munitions?
Madam Senator, it depends on which day and which targets that we're talking about, but roughly 40% come back every day, not having struck dynamic targets with weapons still aboard.
So let me ask you this. We asked Central Command recently whether or not the Department of Defense JTACs are operating outside of operation centers. And basically what we heard back is that they weren't. And so I would like to hear from you, Secretary Carter, and you, General Selva. I mean, we know that one of the things that makes our airstrikes even more effective are the forward air controllers on the ground calling them in. And what is our position, in fact, on embedding JTACs, whether it's with the Kurds or Iraqi forces, so that we can more effectively bomb ISIS and take out the most productive targets to defeat them?
First, I'll note a very good memory I have of your coming to the Pentagon with a number of JTACs.
I did, and I appreciate we met with the JTAC associations, and thank you for doing that.
Oh, thank you. I was very grateful, and they're great people because they represent veterans of a great capability. And that's when we talk about American comparative advantage. This is one of the things we are incomparably good at, and that is very effective. Would we do it? And the answer to your question is yes. We are I want to be careful about what we're doing actually today as I speak, but we are doing that, accompanying people who have those, and by the way, other skills, intelligence skills, and other skills that allow us to leverage a local force and make it much more powerful by bringing in the full weight of America's might behind it. And it's the JTACs and those kind of skills that create that connection between a motivated local force and the might of American power. General Selva, you want to say anything about JTACs?
Senator, in areas where we're not able to accompany to the nearest point of contact, we have actually trained Syrian Arabs, members of the new Syrian forces, as well as our Iraqi partners, to provide the kind of precision target identification that's necessary. And then we're passing that back through JTACs to be vetted in ops centers.
Well, I'm glad to hear this, because what we were hearing before is that they were only in the ops centers. And obviously, when possible, getting them at the battalion level is going to make the difference. So we can train all the other people we want, but we know our guys are the best, and women who do this, and that they're going to be able to call in these airstrikes. And we got 40% returning. We can increase that percentage dramatically by having the right information on the ground. One question I've gotten a lot of is, you know, I saw in your testimony, Secretary Carter, that we've taken out 400 ISIS fuel trucks at this point. And I appreciated the report that there were 116 of those taken out with the help of A-10s. But why did it take so long for us to go after assets like the fuel trucks, knowing where they were? And I think there's a lot of people that have asked that. And are we going to be more aggressive in really going after these assets going forward?
Yes, we're going to be more aggressive. And what made it possible was intelligence that we didn't have before. And that is what allowed us to identify those parts of the oil infrastructure that are being used to fund ISIL. We greatly increased our insight into that infrastructure in recent months. And this is one of the ways that as our intelligence, which I have to say when I started out, had a lot of improvement to be done in terms of collection and graininess of data and so forth, is getting a lot better. And that is also a huge enabler, because when those JTACs call in airstrikes, it's based upon an intelligence foundation. That's getting better. That is what made the critical difference in our ability to go after the energy infrastructure.
So I don't want to interrupt, but I need to, since my time's almost up, on a really important topic before we leave, and that's Iran. We've now been informed that Iran has made another missile test on November 21st. We know that previously they made a missile test on October 10th in violation of existing UN resolutions. And as far as I can tell, in raising this with the administration, nothing has been happening, no response. And these are certainly, our own ambassador to the UN has said the October 10th clear violation of the UN resolution. You and I have talked, Secretary Carter, about the importance of stopping them from having ICBM capability, yet they continue to test in violation of UN resolutions. What's our response?
Well, what we're doing in the Defense Department, and Ray, remember we discussed this shortly after the nuclear deal was made with Iran, is basically we continue to deter Iran, to counter its malign influence, to have a military presence in the region, which is oriented not only toward the urgent need to defeat ISIL in its homeland, but we also have to remember we need to deter and counter Iran as well. And as far as its ballistic missile program is concerned, as you know, we're making some improvements in our both qualitative and quantitative in our missile defense system. That's principally oriented towards North Korea at the moment, but it's also a capability that would be relevant against Iran in the unfortunate event, which so that sometime in the future they were able, as we discussed earlier, to field an ICBM. On the specific matter of this missile test, I refer you to the US-UN or the State Department on that. But on the military side, we are continuing unchanged in our need to deter and counter Iranian malign influence in the region.
Let me just say this. I'm all for, I've been long supporting enhancing our missile defense system in this country, but there already are existing UN resolutions that they're in violation of, that in testing these missiles, and if we don't respond to their violations in a very forceful way, then this agreement, we might as well tear this JCPOA up, because it doesn't matter. Because this issue is already a demonstration of them really backing off on international commitments with this agreement pending.
Before I recognize Senator Donnelly, Mr. Secretary,